Hello everyone and welcome all. I'm your host for today. My name is Omar, community manager at Talent Garden. For those who don't know us yet, Talent Garden is the leading digital skills academy in Europe. We offer transformative learning experiences and networking opportunities with the largest European community of digital talents. So since we are a community that believes lifelong learning is the answer to thriving within constant change, in today's event, we will be discussing one of the most pressing issues facing individuals and organizations in today's digital age, cybersecurity. With the rise of cyber threats such as hacking, phishing, ransomware, it has become more important than ever to protect ourselves and our businesses online. At Talent Garden, we believe that education and training are key to staying safe online, which is why we offer a comprehensive cybersecurity course to train the next generation of cybersecurity analysts. The course is called Deep, so if you're interested, go check it out. Anyways, today, this event is part of our ongoing commitment to cybersecurity education and awareness. This is why we decided to partner with Node Security, a leading provider of digital security solutions, to raise awareness on the matter and offer our members and our community effective tools to protect themselves. I'm honored to announce that our guest speakers for today's event is Thomas Smalakis, CTO of North Pass and North Locker. So hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hi, Amar. I'm good, thank you. Very excited to be here and talk about cybersecurity and the threats.
Thank you for joining me. So maybe let's start with a little bit of introduction. So Thomas, could you tell us a little bit more about you and maybe what got you interested in the world of cybersecurity and maybe how did you end up in this field?
Of course. So I started my career as a software engineer, and then I moved to bigger projects. And after a couple of years, I started leading teams, and eventually, at heart, I was always interested in how things work. As an engineer, it was very interesting for me. And of course, there were a lot of movies about hacking, about all those black hat hackers who are hiding in the dark rooms with their hoodies and doing some interesting things. For me, it was interesting. Of course, those who were malicious actors. But that was the first step when I started looking into what are they doing and how are they doing that. So this brought me into investigating and looking into vulnerabilities, exploits, how computers work, how networks work, how they communicate to each other, and I believe natural growth. Where since I'm from Lithuania, Nord Security is also a Lithuanian company. Natural growth led me to leading provider for cybersecurity tools and products, and now I'm here with Nord Security, leading the development of password manager called NordPass and the secure cloud encrypted cloud storage NordLocker.
Thank you. So yes, since today's event is for everybody interested in this field, I would start with some few simple questions in order to set the context of today's agenda. And for those who are watching us, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and then Thomas will answer all the questions at the end of this session. Just starting from ABC, can you explain, based on your wide experience, the most common types of malware that individuals and businesses can face? And according to your experience, what's what are some tips on how we can avoid falling prey to them? Because myself, sometimes I happen to face some of the malware or some phishing emails. So can you just tell us what you have seen to be the most common mistakes?
Of course. Before we move to malware, let me take one step back and explain what's the malware. So malware is a combination of two words, malicious and software. So malware. So this is basically a software which is being installed on your machine, whether it's a server or a working machine, and the intention of malware is to do some harm, and different software, different malware does different. So one of the most popular or most common is a ransomware. So this is the type of attack which hacks into your file system and encrypts your files, and then the malicious actors, the hackers, they connect with you, and they require ransom. So basically, you need to pay them, usually in form of a cryptocurrency, because it's a very hard to trace. And in order to get your files back, you need to pay. And there are different recommendations whether to pay or not to pay. We've seen some of the companies which are paying and receiving their files, basically receiving the key to decrypt. Some of the pay and do not receive. So this is more of a, I don't know, gambling. So another part of is Trojans. So it's from like a Trojan horse. Basically, this software disguised as a legitimate software. So antivirus will not delete or block or quarantine that, and it does different harm. So spyware, which attempts to steal your personal information. Adware, it's not harmful, but it just displays ads at random places at your browser or other apps, which generates pay-per-view and then generates some money for the actors. And of course, there are many different softwares or malwares, and with going into the year 23 and moving forward, there are even more different types. And now the most common and the most interesting for me as a in a cybersecurity world is a fileless malware. Why is that interesting? Because usually, in order to do something, you need to install the software on a laptop or on a server or on a work computer. But fileless software, it does not require any installation. So basically, how does that work? This fileless software, it pretends to be native process from your laptop. So for example, like just an example of native process. So if you use, for example, browser like Safari or Chrome or Internet Explorer or Edge, if you open the processes, you will see like edge.exe, exe, so executive file. So basically, fileless malware, it pretends to be Edge, and since your settings allow for antivirus to run that program, it goes to, and it does a lot of harmful ways, and usually undetected. So there were few causes where these types of fileless malwares were running for half a year, for a year at the on the business servers and gathering information. One of the biggest, I would say, from what I read on the cybersecurity, there were kind of malware which were running on the traders servers, and it was gathering information before the financial press releases. So the bad actors were able to trade before they knew. So it was kind of insider trading scheme, but using fileless malware.
I see. So that's also scary, a little bit scary. But yes, I mean, I was thinking that some way to protect ourselves can be, strong passwords. So since NordPass offers a great service for what concern password management, can you share some of the best practices for password management? And also, can you tell us how can individuals and businesses keep their accounts secure? Because sometimes our passwords are weak or are not strong enough, and this is how hackers can get into our data and laptop and devices.
Yes, of course. So that's one of the kind of obvious, but not that obvious. So never reveal your passwords to anyone. So keep that private. Because some people are just saying, "Yeah, but my password is 123 123," or just a word password, and that's not the best practice. Another very interesting misconception and the mistake is when I use password. For example, I take the name Omar, for example, right? And I will use that name, but replace the A with @ symbol. We'll add some $sign, some number, maybe your birth date, or some your lucky number, for example, and I will think that this password is strong. But that's a mistake to think about that, because there is an attack called brute force, where computers just going in circles and trying to guess the password, right? And there is a even more sophisticated attack. It's called dictionary attack. So in that case, you don't need to run through all the symbols like AAA, BBB, CCC, but you go through the dictionary. And that means that your name is probably in Italian dictionary, right? And to add more spice to this, when the program will come to the name Omar, it will try Omar as in written form. It will try to replace the letters with special characters. It will try adding some special characters in front and at the end, and of course adding some numbers. Right. So this means that when you think that your password is strong and it will not be hacked or breached, it's a misconception, and I would urge you not to use these types of things. Of course, another part is you should, in order to kind of not to get hacked, you should use different passwords for different accounts. I know that it's easier to have one password for everything, like Netflix, Disney, Google, Facebook, and other you use. So one, you just remember and reuse it. But what happens when that password gets breached? Not maybe even breached, but what happens when a company gets data breached and your password is leaked? That means that malicious actors get access to all of your accounts. And the first things they do is they go to the most popular websites, and that's easily accessible on the internet, and they try your account with your password to get the access to those parts. Additional security is very important, and multi-factor authentication is also a crucial part. And when using two different devices, it becomes harder to get access to your account. And of course, password manager. You can say like I'm kind of pushing the product, but since I know this kind of, we call it in Lithuanian, I know this kitchen, but basically do not use the browser password managers, or kind of integrate it into your phone like a keychain or others. And why? Not because just use NordPass. Use Password Manager, not necessarily NordPass. Of course, I would urge you to use NordPass, but there are other password managers which are also great, which are using also the encryption and all the best practices. But why not to use iPhone's keychain or Android's password manager? For example, if we're taking about, let's take the iPhone, for example. So unlocking the iPhone is the most secure way. It uses Face ID. But what happens if it's not Face ID? It's usually a passcode. And for the sake of easier access, we usually use 2 to 4 digits, 4 to 6, or maybe 8. I remember I used 4 digits. And so what happens, and this is the report taken from Washington Journal, and there were more than 1 million attacks like this. So what people do, so when you're sitting at a coffee or at a restaurant or having evening with your families or loved ones, you take your phone and you try to unlock it. It doesn't recognize your face. Maybe you are talking to someone, or maybe you want to try, or maybe you are behind the table. So you enter your passcode, right? What happens, and what usually happens when there is a target? So people get the cameras, or they try to, or looking from your shoulder, they try to look into your passcode. Once they get your passcode, they are stealing your phone physically. So once the phone is stolen, they can access your operating system with your passcode. But that's not all, and that's not the most terrifying part. The most terrifying part is that your Apple Wallet is accessible with the same passcode. Your keychain is accessible with the same passcode. And your Apple Cloud, or it's called iCloud, is also accessible with the same passcode. So what they do, they go to the iCloud first, and they remove all the trusted devices, because Apple says that you can log into your iCloud from your laptop or from any device and lock the device. But before you move to any of the devices which are connected to the internet, your devices will be long unlocked, long not trusted. Your passwords will be changed, and that's just with that 4-digit passcode. So it's very important to keep your digital belongings safe, but also physical. It's very important. But what would happen if you would use password managers to store your passwords? It will require master password. So basically, they would be able to access a keychain, right? But there will be no passwords. So they will see that you have a password manager. Let's take, for the ease of explanation, let's take NordPass. When you click on the NordPass, you will be prompted for Face ID, because we allow biometrics. But if biometrics will not match, and obviously they won't because the device is stolen, so you will be prompted to enter master password. And we usually set and ask customers to set very strong master password. So that means your passwords are safe. If you store the credit cards or personal information, the personal information is safe. So what they can do, they can use the physical device, or they can extract some kind of detail, not a detail, but the parts, and sell it by parts. But your information remains safe. Same applies to Android, because it uses pattern or unlock. So that's very important to keep both physical and device. And we also have the saying, sorry for Lithuanian sayings, so we have the saying in Lithuania, so don't keep your eggs in the same basket, right? And this kind of makes sense, because if you drop basket, all the eggs will be kind of not usable. So try to separate. So keep your passwords at password manager, keep your data and files or photos encrypted, again, at a different storage. So that will keep you safe. And in case of the attack, or just when you get, hopefully not, but if you get robbed or you lose your physical belongings, your data will be safe and protected. So that's the kind of advice I would give to keep you secure.
Yeah, I mean, password management can be something really important. And also, I was thinking while you were explaining this that, yes, I mean, base case scenario, we would change our passwords like frequently. But this, as we all know, it's not the case because people are lazy, often use the same password for different websites and applications. Now I know that many providers are offering the possibility to auto-generate passwords, and password management can be really helpful whenever it comes to remember what kind of password you changed. And also I was thinking that, yeah, companies like Ethel Garden, we are forced to change our password with frequency. So it's something that companies should do to their employees. Um, urge them to change their passwords like every, I don't know, which is the frequency you would recommend to change passwords?
I would say, of course, the best case scenario is as often as possible. Because of the leaks and etc. But I would say at least a month. That would be great.
Yeah. And also trying to differentiate the kind of password that you use for different platforms, right? And yes, I mean, also I was thinking now, as you said before, Apple's or Google are offering you the possibility to, use their accounts to log in into websites, like sign in with Google, sign in with Apple. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think this is something safer than setting your own password, or would you still recommend to set your own password instead of using sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook or LinkedIn or any other accounts?
Yes, of course. So this is called single sign-on, and that's a technology which utilizes one of the best practices in authentication and authorization part, and that's of course that is safer than creating a password and storing. Why is that? Because that part is a different from the password. So how it works when you sign up or register for the website? Let's take just any website like google.com. You want to create a Gmail, for example. So you sign up, you enter your name, you get your generated email, and you enter the password. So what happens next? So there is a process called hashing. And there are different algorithms. It's usually mathematical calculations on how the hashing will be. So hash is just a random variable of symbols, right? And it uses there are different recommendations, and there is a OWASP, which recommends for different algorithms recommends different things. So if we take like a public key encryption, or so this is where we run a lot of additional computations, so additional iterations. So once I generate the hash, it generates again, and for different methods, it's usually 300,000 to 500,000 iterations. So it makes it practically impossible to crack if you're using all the best practices which are recommended by the authorities. So, and if your database with passwords will be hacked or stolen, it's practically impossible. With today's computational power, it's impossible to crack in this life. It will be cracked like in 10,000 years, 100,000 years, sometimes it's 1 million years with today's computational power. But I believe we wouldn't care about that. Our password will get hacked in like 100,000 years. All right. But yeah, these types of SSO are very more secure, But then again, the world moves now slowly but surely away from the passwords, and this is where passkeys are getting into play.
That's cool. And I'm reading some, questions already, and people are making many questions here. I just want to take the opportunity to read one of these questions because it's related to password management. As since we are speaking of password management, Matteo is asking, what do you think about the transition to passwordless authentication? Is Node Security doing anything related to this point?
Oh yes, that's a very hot topic in cybersecurity world, and especially when Microsoft, Google, and Apple joined forces and presented these passwordless or passkeys. They call it passkeys. That's we jumped the train, and of course, Nord Security is doing something. So I'm very proud to announce that yesterday, I believe yesterday, we released the support of passkeys. So basically, if you are using NordPass application to manage your passwords, it supports passkeys, and you can store passkeys on any of your devices utilizing NordPass application. But on the technology itself, it's way different from the password or from the password. So as I explained how the passwords are created with this hashing algorithm, so passkeys utilizing way different and way more secure public and private key encryption. So that means that it was never used in the passwords. It was utilized on the data encryption when you encrypt the data using end-to-end encryption or at rest. But basically, you generate one private key and one public key. So passwordless, utilizing very similar technology, where when you sign up with the website or internet shop, so like Amazon, for example, key pair is being generated. So that means that one public key is being stored on the server at Amazon.com, for example, and the private key is stored on your device. So, for example, at NordPass, right? And when you need to log in to Amazon.com, for example, you get the pop-up notification from NordPass that you want to log in. So you go to Amazon.com, you enter your email, you click login. You don't need to enter anything. You click login. It sees that the public key is there, and then it gets a pop-up. You unlock. You need to unlock with a master password or biometrics to unlock your application, and then you use that private key to log in. So that's I would say very incredibly secure, because even if the database gets stolen and your passwords are not encrypted, they will not be able to use the public key without the private key. So that's that database becomes useless.
I do have a question on this. I mean, it seems to be super secure, and I read something on passkeys, and I was wondering, since it's so much secure using passkeys, how about recovery that password? I mean, is it hard to, if you don't, I mean, how do you recover this kind of password?
So yes, and this is the tricky part, because the private key is being generated and it's one of a kind. It's unique. So that means if you lose it, that's it. You will not be able to recover. But again, we provide recovery code. It's a very long code where you can recover your account. Because we at NordPass, we store the passwords, of course, end-to-end encrypted. We store that on the cloud. So even you lose your device, right, with the passkeys, you will be able to recover those private keys on a different device, because they will be fetched or downloaded from the cloud. So you will not lose that. But if by somehow you will delete your private key from the application, so it will be deleted also from the cloud, you will not be able to access. Apologies. You will not be able to access your account. So this is a little of a downside. So you need to keep those keys secure and present.
That's cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these new updates from NordPass. So moving forward, I wanted to ask you, in recent years, looking at the international corporate landscape, several major tech companies have suffered from cyber attacks. So can you share maybe some example of these attacks that have impressed you the most? And what lessons can we learn from them?
Oh, yes. I did a very thorough analysis on one of the very interesting attacks. So it was with LinkedIn. And I believe I read a question here about the attack or fileless attack. Yeah, a question regarding fileless malware. So I can walk you through, and it was called More Eggs, and the group themselves, they it's funny, but the group themselves, they call golden chickens. And the malware which they created is it was eggs at the year of 2021, and last year they called it More Eggs. And it was very interesting for me personally to analyze, because it utilized the LinkedIn. And basically, it was at the first year it was one part, and the next point it was vice versa. So basically, how it happened. So at the first, they posted a job opening for a senior account executive. So, for example, if you are into sales, you're looking for a job, you go on LinkedIn, you press jobs, and you see like the company. You can hide the name of the company, so they did that, obviously, and they posted the senior account executive job offering. So, as you're looking for a job, you clicked on that, and they did like a small ad there, and they also had the file attached. So you download the file, you see that it's a PDF, so most probably it's a senior account position. You extract that, you click on the PDF just to look into that, and that's it. You are hacked. So basically, this fileless, this malware, it infects your computer. But of course, the PDF itself, it's with a job offer, with a job description, with everything formatted, and it's beautiful and pretty. So there is even fake emails which you can send your resume, and so basically it's there is a file called Venom LNK. So it's a link to the external file, and usually at this years we are connected. Our devices are connected to the internet. All of our devices are connected to the internet, even watches and etc. So it connected to the internet, downloaded. So it infected. It got into the system by presenting itself as a reg SRV32. It's a registry file, which is kind of it has admin privileges, and the antivirus does not touch it, because it's if antivirus will block it, it will just stop the operating system. It was happening on Windows. So it downloaded this regSRV, WMIC. So these are kind of services running on Windows, native services. And it also downloaded. It's called TerraLoader. So basically, it's a toolbox for anything you want. So you can download keylogger, you can download malware, so basically encryption software, you can download spyware, Trojans, anything. So basically, once those processes started running, you get the access to the laptop. and then you go execute additional malware. So it's called lateral movement. So once you get small access, you get expanded access, and then you go to full control, and you can rock and roll and do whatever you want with the laptop. You can hide yourself and start looking into that. You can go to the passwords, open the browser, check the password, check the systems, start mining Bitcoin, whatever. And the next year it was vice versa. So basically, they tricked. This organization was looking into the job offers, right? So they found like a, let's say, senior account executive posting, and they sent for the recruitment team this compressed file. So the recruitment team, and as you see, they got smarter because the private individuals, they usually had like a password. Some of them had credit cards, so they did some damage, but they kind of got maybe 20,000 euros or something like that. But then they got smarter and they started attacking businesses. So the same compressed file, instead of sending or allowing to download, they were sending it to the recruiters, talent acquisition partners, HR, and usually people who are hiring, they see that the candidate sent them the resume, so they just open it just to check if the candidate fits. And the same happens, but on a larger scale, because usually it's a work laptop, work computer. It's connected to the internal network, and then the lateral movement happens that they take control of that laptop, and they download and install so-called worms. And worms, the main kind of responsibility or the main purpose is to go in network to other laptops and infect those laptops. So that means they went to the servers, they went to the finance, and it caused huge damage to many corporates. And these attacks usually happen during the April season, when there is how is that called, the holidays called, they're coming.
Easter? No.
Yeah, Easter. Yes, exactly, Easter. So so they usually do the attacks during Easter. That's why I brought this, because Easter is like around the corner. So
Yeah.
we'll see what will happen with the golden chickens during the Easter period, and yeah, I'm looking into what they will show us now with, of course, with the, I would say, with the help of the AI and the recent advancements from the OpenAI, from the Google, from Meta, and yeah, that's exciting, but also terrifying on the possibilities you might imagine.
So, since you are mentioning AI, and I have read questions related to it, let me ping it here. Carlo is asking that artificial intelligence is making great strides, as the ChatGPT phenomenon demonstrates. Could it somehow be a problem for our cybersecurity? And speaking of this, I know that yesterday, I think, OpenAI was shut down due to a bug that exposed titles of users' chat histories to other users. So this happened. So it's not completely safe, we can say. And how do you see this technology evolving in the next few years? And what role do you see them playing in the fight against cybercrime as well? Because it has the two sides of the medal. So it can be something that can damage, data, can expose data, but at the same time, it can be beneficial to use AI. What do you think about it?
Yes, of course. So this comes both ways. So not only hackers get smarter and provide more sophisticated attacks or more different vectors from the attacks. Cybersecurity experts are no joke. Also, we are learning on a daily basis. We are looking, we are analyzing, and with the play of AI, this comes to way new level. So you can arm the AI to start looking into like conduct phishing attacks or generate emails. And there were reports that even AI has these protections, right, from doing harm. So like a doctor do no harm. So AI is also has programmed inside this same, like if you go to ChatGPT and ask to create a phishing attack or create a phishing email, it will not do it, right? But there are different also ways on how you can generate these phishing emails. Just ask for a friend or something, and there were reports that AI got kind of not hacked, maybe that's too strong word, but tricked into creating these kind of attacks. Especially if you don't have any coding experience, you can ask to write a code like a payload based on the cybersecurity database, because there is a database of known vulnerabilities on each system. And I also myself played and created a virtual machine with a known vulnerability for Microsoft Server and asked ChatGPT to create a payload based on that specific vulnerability. I put the payload and I got into the machine using that particular vulnerability. So this is again it shows that AI is able to be armed to do bad things, but vice versa, it can also serve a good purpose. And there are a lot of use cases in cybersecurity, in cyber defense. These called purple hats, who are defending against the red hats who are trying to attack, to breach, to get into. And AI, it learns on a phenomenal speed. So you can learn on all the patterns, everything. Like even though there are security operations center, there are a lot of tools who sees the intrusion, who prevents the intrusion, or who detects the intrusion. AI can do that from the pattern. So even when you start looking, it can calculate the patterns and see that. Also spam and phishing, and I saw a lot of good examples on how AI prevents the spam and phishing. Even though before the email reaches your email server, it sees that this, for example, if we take like a gmail.com, right, or let's take the talent garden, right, so it's like a talentgarden.com, let's take that for example. So you can change the L to I, the capital I, and it will be kind of undetectable, and you won't see that. But AI can see that, and it will block as a phishing. So these types of the prevention, and of course advanced malware like a fileless. It also been used in the antiviruses to look at these file lists. So are there any processes? So they can monitor 24/7 all the processes, how they're reacting and what they are doing. And if it detects that this process is trying to access something which it shouldn't, it can be blocked. Of course, authenticity. So authentication is a central part of cybersecurity. So if you authenticate yourself, so that means that you gain access to the machine or to the server or to the data, to whatever. So there is a multi-factor authentication, but AI plays a crucial role on not only allowing person to access, but also monitoring what that person is doing. So, for example, if I get log into this StreamYard, for example, right, and I go and I here just to talk to you, to have a discussion, and that's it. AI monitors that, and that's fine. I am like a guest, and I'm here, and I'm not doing anything. But if I would try to get to log in to access the servers, to start pinging or trying to get network access, it would detect and it will just block me, because this is not the pattern, or this is not the scope of access I should have, and this is not that I should be trying to do. So and yeah, and of course, duplicated process. The security operations center are the guys are monitoring the systems for the 24/7. So artificial intelligence can provide some support on reducing the duplicated processes, on kind of learn the patterns, learn the work, and prevent a lot of different actors from doing harm to the businesses and private individuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. I mean, AI, we need to see the evolution of AI for sure. And while you were speaking, I also think that AI can be a great support for, people, because AI also allow you to write emails in different languages. So for those who are not familiar with English, for example, they will be helped by the fact that thanks to AI, they can write perfect English emails and actually do this phishing. And also, speaking of phishing more in general, do you have any tips on how individuals and businesses can identify phishing scams, and what steps can they take to avoid falling victim to them? Because as you said, it can be really easy to change a letter of the email domain, and emails can be super accurate and look familiar, so you will click on that link. But yes, is there any strong tips you can share on how to recognize like a scam? And also, let's suppose that you weren't that smart to avoid clicking on that link. Once you have done it, what you can do to remedy the fact that you clicked on the link.
Yeah, so the first part is do not click on anything, do not download anything, and don't do anything if you suspect that this is not what you should be receiving. Even though if it's like a letter from your CEO with Excel on your colleagues' salaries, which is very tempting to open just to check how much money everybody earns or something like that, right? So that's the first step, and if you do not expect anything from to get sent, so don't open it. And even more important, if you have like a security team, so just report that as a phishing scam, so they can block that domain. The more kind of detail to look into more detail, so check the email which you are getting, check the sender address which you are getting email from, and check it thoroughly. As I mentioned, like if you change one letter, it will be hard to see. But then again, we did some phishing attack tests, and I participated in some tests. It was very well crafted test where a lot of people fell. But the simple things. If you suspect, check the sender. If you don't expect to get that email, or don't expect something or file or anything, don't open it. Don't fall for it. But unfortunately, and that's very kind of huge number, it's around 95% of data breaches or successful cyber attacks happen because of the human error. So someone clicks on the link, someone cannot fight the urge to check what's there, and usually it's what opens the door to the cyber criminals, and allows business to be kind of to be a victim of data loss or different cyber attacks. So that's. On the other hand, like this education part, on the other hand, there are tools who can help you. But if you are a small business, you are trying to kind of stay afloat and do some sales and like expand. This is not what you are looking at first to invest, right? So you don't want to invest like money into kind of building a firewalls or DDoS protection systems, or hiring security operations team, or at least security experts, right? You have like a two sales, and you are doing some some I don't know works with your at home at your or maybe in the garage and trying to build new big tech company. So usually you don't look into that like you can get hacked and you think that you are not interested and you are small. What can be done there? But that's also kind of uh, I would say mistake because you are not like a Nord Security or Talent Garden on the internet. On the internet, you are a hash of symbols of IP addresses, and the attackers now are just the machines who are going through those IP addresses and trying all the open exploits or known vulnerabilities and trying to get in. It's not that. It's not that. But yeah, there are different attacks like a spear phishing or targeted attacks where they target big businesses or executive of a big business. But that's way different level. Usually, it's just a scanning of known IP addresses and trying different ways to. It's like having a keychain, a lot of keys, and going through all the flats, all the houses, and trying to unlock the doors. So this is happens, and they don't know who lives there. Maybe it's
Mhm.
a old grandmother, or maybe it's like a millionaire entrepreneur. So they don't know that. They just trying to unlock the doors. They don't care who's inside.
Yeah, I mean, it's super frequent to see people that got scammed, and also I was thinking that, as you said, the weakest point of access are people. I mean, we can be tricked so easily sometimes, and I have seen stories from my previous jobs where I had a colleague believing on email that the CEO at the time was sending her, asking her to, take some money, and he will would have give them back the money once she got to the office, but the email wasn't true. And it's so, yeah, I mean, it happened. And also I was thinking that now sometimes the most dangerous thing is that once you open that link, you are request sometimes to, put the data of your credit card, or to make an online payment. And I have seen a friend of mine actually got scammed because the URL was linking to a website that was super, it was the same. The UI was the same of his bank, so he believed that the website was the right one, and he put the password of their the bank account, and he got scammed. And yeah, I mean, we need to, and as you said, education and training are the key to make sure these don't happen that often, because people needs to be aware on the elements they need to take care of whenever they get an email like that. Anyways, at Talent Garden, we have, speaking of something else, at Talent Garden, we have a privileged view on how trends are changing regarding the hybrid work environment. So, with the rise of remote work, that are in the hybrid environment. So now we are working from home really often. So, what are, in your opinion, some of the security risks associated with working from home, and how can businesses can mitigate them? So now companies are allowing their employees to work from home, but surely the home network, Wi-Fi network, can be not secure as the one they get at the workplace. So, in your opinion, what are the safe measures that employees can take whenever working from home?
Oh yes, of course. So on the employee side, so we can talk about employees and then also talk about the
Yeah.
employers.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
on the employee side, so the first thing is use strong passwords to your Wi-Fi. And I've been there myself, especially when we have guests coming and like, hey, what's your password to your Wi-Fi? Well, it's Thomas123. Yeah, go ahead, connect to it. But that means that not only me can connect, someone from the outside can also connect to the Wi-Fi. And what risk might it cause? So the first and the foremost risk is that it comes the same with a public Wi-Fi and with a very easy authentication, or very easy to guess password to join the Wi-Fi. So basically, if we are in the same network, me for example as a hacker and you for example as an employee, right? So that means that I can log the traffic. So that means I can, since we are in the same network, I can see what websites or what are you accessing from your browser or whatever, or the system. So meaning, if I can see where are you going, I can intercept the traffic. By intercepting traffic, I can route that traffic to the fake, like Omar, like your friends, and I can route you to the fake website, which will look exactly the same, which will have DNS also exactly, not exactly the same, with one different symbol, but usually you won't see that, because that symbol will be exactly the same, like I and L, and you'll be tricked to enter the password, right? So you will enter the password, you will get like an error, so you will think that, well, probably I mistyped, I made a typo, and once I will get your password, I will release the traffic and allow you to connect to your website where you were accessing. That means I have your password. I can connect the same way to your work. So this is where this is very important, and that's on work. But keep in mind that I can see all the devices which are connected at your home. I can see your wife's or spouses or different devices like a mobile phone, computer, TV, watch, tablet, all the smart devices, security system if that's connected to the internet. So that's huge, and I can manipulate that system. For example, if I can see when you are not home, or if you're using CCTV cameras for security, I can connect to those cameras, see when you're not home, disconnect them, get and rob you. That's terrifying, but that's need to be talked about, and I try to talk more and more about that. Security comes with some flavor of inconvenience. For example, using strong password, that's inconvenience, but that inconvenience without having an inconvenience might cause you real damage. So this is where I try to kind of give you a heads up, because also if we look at the breaches, at the digital breaches, the trend is going up, and the data breach costs are kind of huge. And in average, last year, an average data breach cost was costing $4.3 million for the company. And getting back to the original question, it was kind of private, but yeah. So that's the first one. But then again, on the company level, you should defend your perimeter. That means that you should use virtual private networks, or VPNs. And there are different types of different providers of VPN. Of course, as I'm an ambassador for the North Security, and I love the products like a user, not as an employee, but as a user. I love the products, the ease of use and the security they provide us. But there is VPN, and there is a company VPN for businesses. So you protect the perimeter. So basically, no one from the outside can get inside. Even though I will steal your password and I will know your login, if I am not on the same VPN network, I will not be able to log in. It will just block the traffic. So this is where VPN is very crucial. So passwords, VPNs, and of course encrypting your data, which you store, which is critical for your business. So encrypt that, even though if it will get stolen, the bad actors will not be able to do anything because they will just have some hashes, some useless files.
Yeah, and speaking of this, we are receiving more questions. So let's read Tanya's question. She's asking regarding Wi-Fi passwords. Are the passwords originally given by the telecom companies good enough, given how long and complicated they usually are, or do you recommend changing them? So yeah, because internet provider give you passwords. So what do you think?
Yes.
Are they strong enough?
So it depends on the internet provider, and I'm from Lithuania, and we had ISPs like internet service providers who were also giving the routers or internet modems, and the passwords were generated on the tag, and they were good enough. They were strong enough, right? But of course, again, I'm not kind of from sales, I promise. But you can check the strength of the password utilizing the tools, right? Don't use online tools, please. Don't use online tools like a password strength checker.com. Don't use that because they will have your password. But usually, at nowadays, they are strong enough, and you can use them. If you want to be 100% sure, of course you can generate the strong password. Then it's 100% secure. But from what I saw, at least in here in Lithuania with the ISPs and with, for example, my modem, it's strong enough and it won't get breached easily. Especially it has the software on brute force prevention of brute force attacks. So yeah. So the answer kind of varies, but to be sure that you won't get breached, yes, you can change that.
That's great. Since we are running out of time, I just want to read some other questions from the audience. So Filippo was asking a short question, but interesting one. So what do you think about blockchain on cybersecurity?
Well, I believe blockchain and Web3 is what coming, and of course AI is what coming during this year. So these three things will be big during this year and the next one. And blockchain is basically decentralized. And from what we see, evolution of the blockchain, it's a decentralized network. And in Europe, it's being utilized for a lot of good things. For example, I was working on the project on the kind of identity. So and I have a colleague who is consulting on this project and on the identity. So basically, you can upload your passport, you can upload your driving license. You can now in specific countries in Europe upload your graduation diploma from the university. And those countries do accept that. So you have them in decentralized networks, so basically unhackable as for today, and you can access, and you only have access like you. So it cannot be hacked. So that means that it cannot be modified, and it is trusted by the company. So I believe that's where the future is going. That's where technology is going. And when we have like a devices and we have those e-wallets in our phones, and we can store the flight tickets, for example, where you can just scan from your phone, you don't need to print it anymore. So this is where are we going with a blockchain, at least in this narrow area. It's limitless possibilities, but in this narrow area, you will be able to store all of your identity on the phone, and with just one device, one physical device, you can have your identity there, and it will be accepted in the world. So you can travel just with that digital identity on your phone. So yeah, I believe that's the future, and I'm very closely looking at the developments of the blockchain and the whole decentralized network part, and Web3, of course, and the AI.
Thank you. So one last question from my side. Well, not a last one, but an interesting one would be cybersecurity, as we all know, is often seen as a technical issue, but it also has important legal and ethical dimensions. So, what are some of the key legal and ethical considerations that businesses and organizations need to keep in mind when it comes to cybersecurity, and how can they ensure that they are acting in a responsible and ethical manner?
Yeah, first of all, when you are in this kind of business, you must understand that you are dealing with critical information for your clients, such as passwords, such as files, or the network. So you need to understand that, and once you do, you need to be honest with your customers and with yourself. And I saw just recently I saw this kind of vice versa, where a company was breached and it was hiding that. So it was kind of breached in a few stages, like a two or three stages. I believe it was two stages, from what I recall. It was the first stage gathering information, like forensics, and the second part was like a full attack on and the data extraction. So basically, data breach. And the company acted not in the best way. So they hid that communication. They hid that they were breached. They hid that the customer information was stolen. They released the communication in between Christmas and New Year's, where everybody's kind of having the kind of Christmas period with their loved ones and their families. So no one actually paid too much attention, and this was, in my personal opinion, was the worst thing you could do. So yeah, you need to understand what are you dealing with, what information are you keeping, and of course be honest with your partners, with your customers, and of course another part is have incident management plan. So bad things happen. Bad things happen even for the best of us, even for the best security companies in the world. We saw LinkedIn. We saw Cisco got hacked, which is kind of one of the largest network providers in that. And yeah, Norton security got hacked. So yeah, it happens, and the best thing we can do, we should have the incident management plan in place, where we have a contact list. Who will you inform about the incident? How will you communicate with your stakeholders, with your employees, with your customers? Who will be responsible for what actions will you take? What is the business continuity plan? How will you continue to operate your business? And what's the disaster recovery? So yeah, you got breached. Yeah, just understand what's the implications, how you can isolate that, how you can learn from it not to happen again, and what's your disaster recovery plan, how you can get back to serving your customers. Because well, a lot of businesses rely on your service, and if they are not able to access their passwords, for example, they cannot log into the systems, they cannot serve their customers. So it's a kind of chain reaction. So this is where you need to understand what are you doing, where you are, and what is the price for the data breach, or what's the worst possible outcome. And you need to be prepared for that. You need to have the plans in place, and you need to constantly test those plans. Are they working? Are they not outdated? Are the employees well trained so they can provide? So yeah, that's a big complex exercise, combining different teams from different departments, not only the IT, but also, as you mentioned, legal, HR, communication department, all of those.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, totally. I think that transparency with all the stakeholders involved is quite fundamental, and also being transparent with your customers, saying that you know a data leak happens, and inform them. It's quite key if you want to have the trust of the people that rely on your services and products. So I completely agree with you. So, One last question from my side, and this is the really last question. What piece of advice would you give to someone who is looking to start like a career in cybersecurity? So, since you have a wide experience in this field, what are the tips and what advice would you give to someone approaching the field for the very first time?
The short version of the answer is just commit and proceed. So it's not about what I want, and it's not the work that you see in the movies. And I experienced that on myself, right? It's not that you are sitting and the numbers are running like Matrix, and you are hacking, and you are typing the code. No, it's not like that. It's not the movies, and it's not even similar to that. It takes a lot of patience. It's like also engineering. Just but if you are committed to get to that, and this is what I see. I want to, and I'm committed to. So these are fundamental differences. Because if you want to, you will never get there, because you will just drop out at the first challenge you will face, and there will be challenges on every step. But as I say, just commit and proceed. There are millions of resources online where you can go, where you can start looking into that. There is a certifications where you can go like a CompTIA to start into the IT. You can go CompTIA A plus, where you get the fundamentals. Then you proceed with a CompTIA Security Plus, where you get expanded knowledge with what's the encryption, what's the network, what's the OWASP, all those basic parts in order for you to understand. And then you just learn, read, and try it yourself. Just if you want to get into this, commit and proceed. And the resources are limitless, so you will be able to find your way.
Thank you, Thomas. This was really insightful and inspiring. So I really wanted to thank you for joining me in this chat. I hope the audience appreciated all the insight and stories Thomas has shared with us. So this is it for today, I think. So enjoy the rest of the day all. And thank you, Thomas, for sharing all these incredible stories and tips and insights. Really.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.